Gentlemen, it is currently Thursday, April 5th, 2012, and this is Day 9 Daily number 440, where we learn to be a better gamer. As you can tell, likely by my voice, or perhaps even by my physical look, I am still sick. This was the third day in a row that I woke up with a fever, so I decided to go to the clinic, and he diagnosed me. I have strep and tonsillitis. Yes! Alright, let me just... Fantastic. I took my temperature before the daily, and it is cruising at a mild 99.4. No problem. And I have medicine. What is it that he gave me? I have zithromycin, which is a thing that I need and glad I got. Yes, I love medicine name like Herpethipotrax and stuff. Perpazitran. Always an exciting thing. Is it an ancient historian, a Pokemon, or a pharmaceutical? A game you can play whenever you're paired up against someone on Battle.net. So of course when I went to that doctor, he did the usual thing where he's just like, okay, I'm going to put my hand here, now breathe in, breathe out. Okay, it looks like you have organs there, good. Breathe in, breathe out, and just keeps feeling me and asks me to breathe in and breathe out, and I never know what's happening. He's sticking things in my ear, he's looking in my ear and making noises like, Is my ear messed up? Is that bad? Is it not look the way an ear's supposed to look? I'm self-conscious about my inner ear. And then he literally opens my mouth. Well, he doesn't open. It's not like he stuck his hand and pulled it open. He's just said, open your mouth. And I opened my mouth and he's like, you have strep. It's just like, there it is. There's a strep throat. Take a Laxaday, and whatever you do, try to refrain from as much talking as possible. So welcome to Day 9 Daily number 440, where we're going to do a slightly shorter daily. This will be a two-parter, and because I am far more rambly than I need to be, they'll probably be about two 20-minute parts, but I'm shooting for like 35 minutes total before I can go back to not talking. In today's daily, I actually went back and looked through most of my content since the first of the year, and a lot of it has been super focused strategy. I guess I'd call it player-driven content. Things like, here's how to do Thorzane's Terran vs. Terran build. Here's variations on it, how he plays out the mid-game, and all sorts of considerations for how to do that beautiful timing that he has at the start of the game. And this is the sort of thing that, if you are a struggling TVT player, could definitely help you a ton with. But I know a lot of you don't even play. Actually, if you do play StarCraft, please type 1, but if you are pretty much largely an observer of StarCraft, please type 0, as in I'll probably hit the Find Match button 0 times this week. Oh my god, almost all ones. Any zeros? Any people who just show up for the ride? Well, I asked that question. I'm going to go ahead and relieve myself. Okay, good. It's about 60 or 70% ones and 30 to 40% zeros, and 100% beautiful people. My God, you are all gorgeous. What we're going to do today, I would describe as a little bit more of a spectator-friendly analysis of this game. This is kind of what I used to do in the old Brood War days, where I would just open up a game and just talk about the game. I'm not going to be fast-forwarding much through points. I'm not going to be doing too much... I'm not going to be doing too much of favoring one player or the other. We're just going to watch it and talk about it as it goes. And this is the sort of thing that I found that I really missed when I was doing casting at MLG Columbus and the Red Bull LAN, kind of going, wow, it's just so different to just talk about both sides with equal favor. And as it turns out, yeah, I've been doing totally player-focused build orders for much of the... Or not build orders, but strategies for the first half of the year. So let's go ahead and hop into it. In the bottom, we have SKMC. And in this other side, we have Once Upon a Time Next Taja and Slayer's Taja, but now Liquid Taja. Yeah. Wonderful. So at this point in time, this is the point that I normally just blast past in a lot of my analysis. To focus on some sort of build order. I talk about derp usual timings, but let's step into the minds of the players. What would a Terran player be thinking when he spawns on a map like this? And I actually literally am going to pause for this period of time, because I don't know if you do this, but you always should. Whether you're playing in a game and seeing the map load up, or you're watching GSL, you didn't know what the map rotation was, and boom, you're just suddenly loaded up on a map like Antigua Shipyard, to know what your basic plan is going to be. And I don't mean something like, oh yeah, I'm going to open Hellions and go this. That's more of your build order. I'm talking more about your plan. Here's a very simple plan that almost all races utilize on this map. I'm going to keep him locked on 1, 2, 3 bases. Here's the third one that I'm boxing right now. So, for instance, if I am in MC's position and I just know that Teja is up here in the top, I want to try to keep him locked down on these 3 bases. It's almost impossible to keep him from getting these 3 bases up. So my basic plan is to be the one denying 4ths and getting a 4th. Very common initial strategy. Basic plan, basic plan. And almost all plans revolve around expanding. I'm going to be putting on huge pressure on his 3rd, preventing him from ever getting a 3rd up. Hell, what that might look like from a Protoss, or from the Terran point of view is, I'm going to siege tank push to here, and then drop 2 siege tanks here and push here. Very unusual strategy, certainly going to help lock down that 3rd base. Assuming it's done correctly. Interestingly, both players are going to be going for a good old, I keep wanting to call it hatch first, but that is as incorrect as I could possibly be. Both of them are going to be going for the Nexus first, or of course the Command Center first. Now there's this odd situation we see from both players, which is that as we look at the minimap, MC has not yet scouted his opponent. And likewise, Teja has not yet scouted his opponent. This is this counterintuitive thing that pops into play where there are 2 broad categories when we are an early expander. I'm talking about like Nexus, or I'm just going to call it HQ, Town Hall before units. Yeah! Any Warcraft 3 players in there? If you have a Warcraft 3 background, please type WC3. If you have a StarCraft background, please type BW for Brood War. And if you, damn it, have any other RTS game, please type the acronym and give us the chance to figure it out. I'm just curious, we have a lot of Warcraft 3ers, but where are the Brood Wars? Are they going to be streaming up? I don't know. I guess the chat's shutting down due to the overwhelming stuff. Yeah, Brood War pros. Okay, so now that we're town halling first, 2 broad categories of what we need to worry about. One is really crazy early rushes. And then there's everything else. There's a very reasonable way to break it up because this is the stuff that kills us right off the bat, and versus everything else, we have a much better economy. Our plan is ultra clear. Many people like to call this risky playing. Many people like to call it kind of high-level metagaming and all that garbage. It's actually just a very easy plan. You know where your edge is. Your edge is economy, and I want to maintain that. So the reason that no scouting is going on right now is that if we scout him early on, it's not going to change the fact that we're building this Nexus first. It's not going to change the timing on this gateway. The only thing that it could possibly do if we scout early is lose us a couple minerals. So we literally, by not scouting, get the extra minerals that we need to hold off some kind of cheese. And of course, just to identify the 2 that I'm really thinking of for Teja, he's worried about some sort of proxy, but that's not actually a really big issue because he just sort of walls in. Gets into a little bit of trouble, but it's not actually that big of a deal to hold that off. But the other is just standard 1 gateway pressure. Zealot followed by Chrono Boosted Stalker. Chrono Boosted Stalker pops out at 4 minutes and 5 seconds. Very important timing to know. It'll take like 30 seconds to get across the map. This is exactly why we build 2 barracks. We just don't have enough Marines otherwise to be able to cope with that sort of thing. Unless we want to be super Gosu and guess what he's doing without checking. Likewise, MC is quite worried about some sort of proxy 2 barracks in the middle. Very common. Early nutso aggression. And of course, the 2 racks puts on a lot of pressure. We're actually saving a lot of Chrono Boost on the Nexus. That's going to be the big ticket, is Chrono Boost. We have this backup probe here. Really love this play by MC. Both players are trying to get through the contingency plan of staying alive at the start. Now MC sees this and goes, oh, thank me goodness, I'm in good shape. Notice that that chrono boosted Stalker, if our opponent did go for some sort of one gate at a normal time, 4 minutes and 5 seconds is about when it would pop out. And they could have gotten a Zealot up before then, so we're starting to really clearly see why Taeja has built 2 barracks, so he can actually get up enough Marines. Hell, he has no Marines up before this point in time. And the double good stuff. And of course, Taeja also not doing a scout early on, keeping this as a backup by just leaving everything up on the high ground, not even transferring workers. He doesn't need to because he has that magical money 16.
Complete.
Try not to bring workers over until they're at 16. So we've kind of talked about all those contingency plans for how they have managed to defend. And now, from both players' point of view, it obviously begs the question, what is going to be your goal in the middle game? Both players now, I think it looks like Terran is not aware of what Protoss is doing. Protoss is more than aware. MC, I think, is doing the exact correct response. He is just chrono boosting like mad on the worker count. He's actually going to get quite far ahead if he can literally only chrono boost on those probes. Taeja, I would say, has 2 basic things that he can end up going for. One is the big barracks pressure play with 4 to 6 barracks churning out Marines, going for some big basic ground attacks, or just quite standardly adding on 2 of these Vespene gas geysers, building a 3rd barracks, going for medevacs kind of fast. Or going for some sort of passive upgrade-focused play. So he's either going to be doing big attack by ground, big attack by medevac, or playing all-up defensive up in it. And I would say that this is the big critical period. This is something that I'm always looking for in any game I watch. In any game I watch, when the Protoss has a pretty clear idea of that the Terran is early expanding. You know what? Just look at this overlay while I blow my nose. Wonderful. Great. I always look for this period to say, is Protoss taking advantage of the pre-medevac period enough? There's virtually no pressure that can happen, except for, say, a big ground marine pressure. But other than that, I have time to start forges and upgrades. Can I sneak in a 3rd? Am I chrono boosting enough probes? We see predominantly sentries made in this period and other important things. We'll make big scary units like Zealots and Stalkers later. Getting the 4 gateways up I think is reasonable. But once this push starts coming up, I think MC is pretty wise to continue to hold the center region as best he can to get a good sense if there's going to be any reinforcements. If there's extra reinforcements coming in, that's almost a dead giveaway that there's some sort of big ground-focused pressure. And MC is doing a very smart move. See, how is he taking advantage of a player who is not yet going to have medevacs? Well, he's just going to get up his 3rd base. Only just now finishing up Warp Gate. From Taeja's point of view, he is trying to force this player to not tech. That is the big thing that he's trying to force this player to do. He's trying to force MC to build units. Sure, maybe he could build workers during this period of time, but I want to make sure that he doesn't build, that he doesn't get too greedy and go for something like ultra-fast Colossus with +1/+1 upgrades. This marine attack can actually just kill off a lot of that. And we see Taeja really committing to it. Look how late this factory is. Factory after 5 barracks get started. So MC is just going to hold and defend, making just Zealots and Sentries to save up for his Nexus. And I love this crazy fast 4 assimilator. That's really, really cool. Actually, to come back, I think it was at the 7-minute mark, a little while after that. Yeah, at the 7-minute mark, he had all of his assimilators done. That is crazy. 4 assimilators done before Warp Gate, and look how many workers he has. 40 already at the 7-minute mark. That's absolute bonkerville. So I love this decision to take the 3rd, but this very clearly pins us to needing to think defensively. Yeah, yeah, I'm going to pause because I have 90 more seconds of analysis that I want to do, and then I want to take some questions as we hit that midpoint. Taeja, very clearly, is just trying to build up a big ground force, force the Protoss to make a lot of units, thereby delaying his vital tech, such as Robo Facility, Twilight Council, Forges, all that good stuff. Would love to delay this expansion, but of course MC has been playing very clever with his economy, did manage to get it up. Taeja has bought himself a lot of time in this position, and he has two broad goals that he can follow this up with. One is to go for really fast medevacs, and this is great. It's another way of saying I'm going to follow up with some small ground pressure, and then I'm just going to pressure right now. Pressure with stim and combat shield and medevacs now with a big ground army and try to deal that damage. The other alternative is to go for a more long-term play. I think this is where there's sort of a disjuncture. Is that a word? I have no idea. Disjoint between a lot of early and mid games for Terran. Like, for instance, if I saw this, and then I saw something like double upgrades now, that would bother me. That would bother me a lot. Because we would be getting all these Marines to do a big punch, and then we wouldn't have any way to really make it stronger other than building these extra things. These double upgrades are going to take a long time to finish, and by that point in time, Protoss is probably going to have some Colossus up. And it means we can't really put on any pressure. If for some reason we wanted to get a third command center and 1-1-ups before we started to get this factory and all these other key upgrades, that I would like. If you're going to do some focus on the late term, devote to that focus on the late term. If you're going to do some focus on the huge pressure at the start of the game, devote all your focus to that pressure in the early game. I love this consistency. Yeah. Because, depressingly, this army that starts off looking so strong can look increasingly weak over time. But MC is doing a very smart play. This is where knowing your timings is just so good. Anytime I'm watching a Protoss vs. Terran, I'm counting the number of possible prongs of attack from the Terran player. I'm thinking, can he be hitting me with one big ground force at the front? Can he be hitting me with two ground forces? Maybe one at my third, maybe one at my natural? Can he be dropping and hitting me at the front with a two-pronged attack? Before 9:30, it's hard to have medevacs. If you end up with a big ground army, like if you see any Marauders at all, or a high Marine count, it's hard for him to have any units before the... hard for him to have any medevacs before 10 minutes and 30 seconds. So what is this push from SKMC? This is another way of saying you have one possible prong. You have one place your units can be in at once. I'm going to force that place to be right here. There's literally only one place in time, or one location at this time, where all these units can be, because there's no medevacs. There's not really that stim that he needs. This is a pretty fast stim. This is a very common play by MC, or by MC and all Protosses now. Now, let's watch this attack. Okay. Great. Seemed kind of useless. I mean, he didn't lose that much. But to note, this is the importance of having like contingencies planned. If my opponent opened this way and then went for double engineering bay and a command center and tried to delay getting a big army, like maybe didn't build this 5th barracks, or maybe was sticking on just these 4 while teching too much. Basically, if Terran's being too greedy, he can just kill them off. So this is really nice for MC. MC gets a huge amount of information. He knows he's not up against too greedy of a Terran just by moving up, seeing a lot of units, and backing off. He's not up against too greedy of a Terran. So what is he going to do? It's all defense mode all the time. Best counter to drops? Well, things like Blink, or things like having a lot of warp gates. Having a lot of warp gates, one of the most effective counters ever. Taeja, great timing on this command center. Love the delay on these 2 engineering bays. I think it's just in line. He's going to be doing a really powerful punch, but Teja's got to be worried because his late game is a little bit delayed. His engineering bays are quite a bit delayed. Sure, he's going to get 1-1, and sure, he got a fast early expand, but so did MC. So, everything at this game is happening at a faster pace. The deficit Teja's going to be feeling will be a late game one. He's got to make this damage count. So this is what I want to do right now. At this point in the game, I'm sure people have questions, so let's ask them. And then we're going to go to a 5-minute break and just wrap the daily up with part 2. Alright, let me see here. Any question you want? Let me see here. Okay, so cool. Tortuga says, day 9, how would MC have changed his plan if he had seen some marauders in Teja's early forces? I think that probably not too much will end up changing. I mean, MC is already building the Sentry Zealot to defend against a variety of early pressure. I think that in my mind, if I'm MC, I'm going to see that and think, okay, well, he's probably not devoting, he's not necessarily devoting to a huge ground army. I mean, you have to see the unit counts, like, to come back to that question, like, the unit count early on and the rally is what's going to give away the existence of a lot of barracks. But if I see some marauders, I could conceivably say, well, he's probably not going ultra-fast medevacs, but he could be going for a fast +1 attack upgrade. Probably just doing a pretty standard middle-of-the-road-ish one. If I'm in MC's position, I see that. I'm probably going to have a lot more confidence in the push with these units at the front when that happened. And I'll probably be trying to push there a little bit earlier. Yeah, so cool. Let's see here. Ah, excellent. Excellent. Now Markio's question grabber is grabbing stuff. Yeah, to reemphasize this, Spoo the One says, day 9, since you do not scout before Nexus, what if he rushes Marines or even proxy? What can you do to stop the cheese? The fact of the matter is that no matter what cheese he does, you'll always be building your Nexus before you have any information. It would be ideal if you could spot the cheese and say, whoops, I'm not building my Nexus now. I'm instead going to throw down a gateway. That would be great if you could do that, but you can't. So, we already know we're building our Nexus first, and we're building our gateway following that. And the question is, if he is cheesing, what's our strongest way to respond to it, given that we've done that? The answer is going to be economy. Seeing that he's doing it doesn't help us that much. We're going to see the units at the front of our base when the cheese occurs. So, in other words, MC is doing a very clever play. He's delaying the scout, so that way that scouting probe can stay at home and mine an extra 40 to 100 minerals that he can use to build an extra zealot, that he can use to build an extra gateway, if he needs be. So the late scout will probably end up seeing that all in coming, and then MC can respond pretty comfortably at that point. And to follow it up, a question from Dipazuka, why do Koreans often refuse to scout? It's less a refusal to scout and more of a, it won't change my build. A big mistake that people will make is they want to see what's going on just to ease their mind, as opposed to answering the question of what is the best way to defend against all these sorts of things. Excuse me. So for instance, if I scout too early, I'll see what he's doing and go, aha! And then I'll really wish that SCV was back home and had mined some minerals up. So, in fact, the best players know when to scout latest. Know when to delay. Let's see here. I'm going to take one more question. Looking for this stuff. The chemistry says, dear day 9, since MC is doing a defensive play Would it be more beneficial for Teja to be greedy? As a blanket statement, not necessarily. As we come back and look, sure, MC is doing a defensive positioning as he's getting these 3 bases up, as he's getting this defensive round of warp gates. These are largely going to be used for emergency warp-ins if holy shit, I need 8 units here, or holy shit, I need 8 units at the front. But the big reason why being greedy is dangerous is this push that happened at 9 minutes. Almost all good Protosses are doing this now. Naniwa does this a ton on his stream. We even looked at that on a daily not long ago. This push will crush you if you're being too greedy. Like, really, really crush you. You'll have, like, short another 10 Marines, and there'll just be a big round of force fields, and it'll just be doing a whole world of hurt to you. So the answer is, if Teja would have been greedy, he'd have to commit to that a lot earlier and really go all greedy, all defense. He'd have to have 3 bunkers at his front and that sort of thing. That was kind of a long part 1. Whatever. Guys, we're going to go on to part 2 right now and then wrap up so I can go to bed. See you in a sec.